In this video, I will show you how to create an exciting looking travel blog website that uses a large header illustration that catches the eye. SeedProd allows you to create your own custom WordPress themes with no coding. So we will do that by setting up our headers, footer, main page, blog page, archives, and single post page. Let's jump right in and get started. So to start off, I just want to begin by showing how I created a simple logo for this travel blog. So I'm using Affinity Photo. You can use Photoshop if you like, and I'm going to come up to File and New. And here I'm going to select the web preset here, and I just need it big enough to show on the page. So this is 800 pixels by 600. We'll crop this out after we're finished. And I need my text tool here. And let's just go ahead and get the name of the blog on here. Let's go with desert, and I'll just make this a little bit bigger. I'll drag that. And let's go ahead and duplicate this. So I'll right click and just duplicate, and we'll have a second one here. And we'll rename this to Adventures. There we go. I'll just position these a little bit. And the font that I'm going to be using is called El Masiri. You can download this off of the Google Fonts website if you don't have it. So I'll search for that L, and I have this one right here. Let's try maybe the bold version of it. And you can see the name, the spelling there, Elmessiri, if you want to search for that. And let's just position this. I'll put this maybe about here, and I'll change the font on this one as well. So El Masari and bold. And now the colors that I want this to be yellow. I'm going to make this one black. I'll leave it black. So let's go with the yellow color here. I'll select this and then select my tool here for the color. And we'll update the little hex code here for the color. We'll go FDD835, and I'll just hit enter there. Perfect. And I want to have a drop shadow on this that it's red. So you could use the effects here. I'm actually just going to duplicate this and just change this bottom one to that red color. So I'm going to hold shift and hit my down key once and shift right key once. And that's probably a little bit too far over, but we'll go ahead and use that anyway. And the red that I want, we actually have a red color here. So if I click my eyedropper, we have that. Let's just see if that's the one that I want though. I'm going to change this to E53935. We'll hit that. And I'm just going to position this so it's a little bit better underneath it. You can position yours however you like. And that looks good to me. And we're going to do the same thing for Adventures here as well. So we could actually just duplicate this red one, drag it up underneath the adventure, and just rename it. And then we'll just position this underneath the Adventures part. You could have just duplicated Adventures and made it red if you like. So there we go. That looks good to me. I'm just going to select these two layers for the Adventures and just move it up slightly, a little bit closer, and let go. I accidentally made this layer invisible. If you're curious what happened, I'll just click this to bring that back. Next, we want to take the marquee tool here, and I'm just going to select everything. And I'm just going to go to Edit and Copy Flattened, and go to File and New from Clipboard. Now, what this will do, it'll crop out all the stuff that we don't want. So because this is a graphic and not a photo, and we want the transparency, we're going to use a PNG file. So let's go to File, Export, and we'll just export this and save this. The next thing I wanted to mention is that I have an image that we're going to be using an illustration in the header. And I got this picture actually from Envato Elements that you can download. They have lots of different illustrations and pictures and stock photos that you could use. Or you could find a free PNG as long as the license is correct for the type of website that you're creating. You can go ahead and use one of those. So on Envato Elements, if you search for Pyramid Famous Landmark Illustration, you will find this graphic there. So the next thing I want to show you were the actual images for the blog posts on the page or on the website. And these are the original images, or this is the original image. This is what it looked like. But because we're using an illustration, it's very colorful. I wanted to turn it into something like this. So I just wanted to show you how I got this effect. So we can take our picture here, and what I actually want to do is take my background here. We'll duplicate this so we have the original, and I'll hide that. Now we'll just work on this layer. I'm going to right click and rasterize this, and this allows us to add different effects to it. Affinity Photo has these cool tone mapping personas. So I'm going to click on this one, and immediately you can see a bit of a difference. We can click here to compare. So the left one is the new one. And on the presets here, I'm actually going to come down to crazy, and we'll look for one called acid bath. And there you can see the difference already. Let's go ahead and apply that. Now you'll see that there's a lot of noise in the picture here. So what we can do is just denoise that. We can take the filter, go to noise, and diffuse. Now this is a very specific effect that I'm applying to these pictures, so it might not be something that you're going for. I just wanted to show you how I did that. And you'll notice that a lot of that noise is gone the more that we repeat. You can just keep applying this, but it will soften up your picture a bit. Next, we'll just apply an adjustment to this picture of a brightness and contrast. And I'm just going to put the brightness down a little bit, and I'll just bring the contrast up a little bit just to pop the colors out of that picture. And there you go. You can see the comparison here. It almost has a bit of a cartoony effect or an illustrated effect. Lastly, I just like to make sure that all of my image are the same ratio for blog posts. I'm going to use the crop tool here, and I like to apply a custom ratio of 16:9. You can use whatever ratio you like. So I'll just select the part of the picture that I want, double click, and then you can go ahead and save this. I'll export it as a JPEG, and I like to save it anywhere between, say, 70% quality and maybe 80%. I find 70 to 75 is a good number to have a great file size, but also keep the quality nice. Okay, great. Now let's come over to your installation of WordPress. I have a completely clean installation of WordPress right now with nothing installed. So if you see, we can take a look at the homepage, and it's just the default WordPress theme. So let's head over to seedprod.com or click the link in the description below, and you want to get SeedProd. Now there are various different plans here that you can select from. I'm going to be using the Elite plan for this one. The Pro would be great as well. And once you have an account, come back over and click on Login. On the left-hand side, you can enter your email address and password and click Login. And up here, we want to click on the Downloads tab. Then let's go ahead and click on the button here to download SeedProd Pro. And we also have the license key here on the bottom left-hand corner. Let's go ahead and click that little icon to copy that to clipboard. Next, let's come to WordPress, and we'll go to Plugins and Add New. And we want to upload the plugin. Let's go ahead. We can drag this zip file right here and drop it onto the Choose File button. Or you can click on Choose File and select that zip file from your hard drive. Let's go ahead and install now. And let's activate this plugin. Next, with that license key, let's paste that right in here. And we'll verify key. Everything went well. You should see a green success message. Let's close this tab at the bottom of your browser if you have the same browser similar as me. Great, so we've done a few things already. We have our logo. We have some pictures ready. Next, let's go ahead to our media library, and I'll go to library, and we'll add new. So here I'm going to first drag my image in here. You can also click on select files, and this is my logo that we'll be using. I also want to use my header background. So this is the illustration that I got from Envato Elements. And I just have two pictures of pyramids here. So we have the Mesoamerican pyramids, and I applied that same effect that I did to the other picture. And then we have our Egyptian pyramids here. So I just have one picture for each, and I'll just use those for all blog posts that we're going to be creating. So now we actually need some test posts to work with. So let's come under Posts and Add New. So I'll put in a title here called My Incredible Egyptian Adventure, and I just want to add some text. So we'll go to lipsum.com, and on the bottom here, we'll select 5 paragraphs and generate. And here's just some test text that we can use to put in here. I'll just paste that in here. And on the right-hand side, we have post we can click on. And I'm going to come down to categories, and we have the uncategorized. I'm going to add a new one here. And I'm just going to put in Egyptian, and we'll just add new category. While we're here, we might as well add the other one as well for Mesoamerican, and I'll add that new one, but I'll uncheck this because this is just for the Egyptian posts. Great, the next thing I want is to add the featured image, and we'll set the featured image, and we'll go to Media Library, and I'll select the Egyptian pyramid here. Let's go ahead and set featured image, and I'll publish this. Great, so let's go ahead and view that post just to see what that looks like. So there we go, we have our title, image, and then the article itself. Next, let's go to Plugins and Add New. I want to create duplicates of that post. So let's type in duplicate, and I'll go and use this duplicate post. There's a lot of these plugins. I'll use this one here, and I'll activate. Great. Let's go back to posts, all posts. And now we have this button here called copy. I'm going to duplicate this 11 times. That'll give us 12 total. Now, the reason I'm using 12 is that we'll probably do columns with 3 posts wide. So this will be an even number for how many posts are wide. It doesn't really matter though at this time, as we're just basically creating a test website. Let's click on copy now, and this will make all of these drafts for us. We can select all these and edit, and we'll click apply. And the status, we'll just put these all to published, and we'll update all of these by clicking the update button. And there we go. I have the same post, and we have that 12 different times. Now I'm just going to do the same thing, but call it My Incredible Mesoamerican Adventure. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, just with a different featured image. Great. So there we go. I have 24 total published posts here. If you're wondering about the trash one, this is the default Hello World that came with WordPress. So I have 12 Mesoamerican ones, and I have 12 Egyptian ones. You can see the category I changed as well to Mesoamerican, and then the Egyptian one have the Egyptian category. I also forgot to mention, but my images for my posts, if you're curious, were 800 by 450 if you wanted to use a similar size. Okay, great. Let's open up our front page, and we want to create a custom travel blog website. So now we have everything in place. We have our posts, and we have our images, our logo, and illustrations. Let's come over to SeedProd, and we want to come over to the theme builder section. Inside the theme builder here, we'll see your global CSS. Let's go ahead and click on edit design. And I just made some quick changes I just want to point out quickly. So under colors, I changed my headers to black. So you can see the 000. We have text to black. We're using that same red color that we used in our logo, so the E53935 for our buttons, and the same color for our links. And our background I just left to white. Now, that doesn't mean that every single link and every single button will be these colors. We can change those locally when we get to those pieces. Next, let's go to fonts, and I set my header font to El Masiri with a medium of 500. I left the color to black. Under body text typography, we use this font called Aref Raqua, I'm not sure the pronunciation, maybe Raqua, and a regular of 400. Next, we have our body text color of black. For our links, we have this red color. You have a hover state as well if you wanted to change this. I'll change that to black for now. Next, we have background. I did not change anything under background. For buttons, we have that red color, the E53935, and under the hover state, I changed the button color to black. Just quickly notice that the button text color is white. Under forms, layout, and custom, I did not change anything. So you should see the header fonts updated and the body text, as well as the buttons and links. So let's go ahead and save this, and we'll exit. So I'm actually going to be creating 3 different headers. We have one for our front page, one for our blog post page, and then our single blog post page, which has the actual article on it. But they all have the same logo and the same menu. So all 3 headers will have a common element with the same logo and the same menu. So let's go ahead and create that, and I'll show you what I mean. So let's go to add new template. I'll call this header nav. For this will have our menu, so we'll have navigation in it. And for type, let's go ahead and select global part. Let's go ahead and save this, and we can create our logo and menu in here. Let's go ahead and select a layout. I just want 2 columns here. So on the left-hand side, I want my image block. Let's go ahead with under standard, use the image, select this, and click use your own image. Here we have the Desert Adventures logo that we created earlier. Let's select that. I'm gonna change the size down to 300. Let's align that to the left. On the right-hand side, I just want a simple menu. So let's look for menu, do a search, and we have nav menu. Let's go ahead and click on this. And we have one element in here called about. Let's update this. I'm just going to call this home. And I'll put a / for the URL. Let's put a second item here. So I'll add a new item, open this up, and we'll call this blog. And for now, I'll just put a / blog. Great. For the font size, let's go with something around 30. For the space between, let's put a little bit more space. We'll say 40. I don't want a divider, but you could put one in there. For example, a line or a slash if you wish. And let's align these to the right side. Let's come under advanced typography. I'm just going to click on bold just to make those stick out a little bit more. As well, I don't like the positioning, it's a little bit high. So I'm going to select the row settings here. And on the bottom, we have vertical. I'm just going to select the middle alignment, and you can see that those are perfectly aligned now. And that's it. That's all we want for this global part. Now we can take this piece and include it wherever we want on the website. Let's go ahead and save. And I'm going to create a new theme template here. This one's going to be called header front. And this needs its own template because it's so unique compared to the other ones. So I'm going to save this as a header font. And I don't want to include it on the whole entire site. So what we want to do is add a condition, include this just on the front page. Let's go ahead and save. And here we have our section that we can create. I actually just want one column here. And the first thing I want to do is add our part that we just created. So let's go to our blocks. And if we look under template tags, we have template parts here. We can drag this in here. And we only have one part, so by default, it's selected the only one that we have. If you had multiple, you can select it, and there's a drop down here that you can see. Next, let's select the section. That's the purple part here, and we want to add our background to it. So under background image, use your own image. Let's select that illustration that we had earlier. For background position, I'm going to go with full screen cover and full screen. Great, that looks good. Next, I want to put a little bit of space under here. So we could put margin, or you could use the spacer block that we have. So I'll just drag this in here, and we'll set this to, let's go with 200. I think that works. Great, the next thing I want is a nice big headline here. So I'll drag the headline block at the bottom, and here we can see that. And let's update the text to explore the pyramids. Now I want this to be really big here, so let's go with something around maybe 100 or even 110. I think maybe, well, that's way too big. Let's go with 100, and let's update that color. I want this to be a little bit different. So let's click under the advanced tab, and under color, let's select this, and we'll use FDD. 835. Under topography, let's go ahead and bold this, and everything else is fine. Under text shadow, we have different options here, such as the extra large, medium, which all look great, but I want to make a custom one. And let's click on color, and we'll use the theme color here, that red that we've used. For horizontal, I'm going to put this to -1, and vertical, we're going to put this at 3 with a 0 blur on it. Great, the next thing I want to do is add a section of text underneath here. So let's actually select the row. And if I come down here, I want to add a new row underneath it. So we'll hit that blue add row button, and we'll just do one section or one column. And we'll put a text block in here. So let's get rid of this and come down. We'll just put text right here, and we'll click on this. I'm just going to update the text here. And my last sentence here, I just have bolded. So I just select that and click bold in the text here. Great. Let's go ahead and center this. And the font size I'm going to put around 30. I think that looks good. Great. Just to make this a little bit easier to read, I'm going to select the row that it's in. And we're going to select a background color here of white. But I'm going to bring this down somewhere around here. And I think that looks good. So this is the opacity of that color. Next, let's come under advanced and come down to border, and let's put a border radius of 10. Now this will round off the edges for us a little bit. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and add a new row here underneath, just a single section, and we're going to add a button. Go ahead and drag that out here and put it inside of our row, and I'll update the text. Great. Let's make sure this is line center, and for the size, I want a really big button, so I'm going to go 2 times large, and you could add an icon here if you want. I'm just going to leave mine alone how it is. We also want to change our link here. I'm just going to link this to the blog for now, but you could have a specific page that this goes to. You also have templates you can use if you like. I'm going to ignore that and come under advanced. I actually kind of like how it is just simple like that, but let's make some changes since we are creating something really colorful looking. Under button style, let's go under custom and normal, solid background color. We could change that to red if it's not red, but it's already using that. Button text color, I like that as the white, so that's fine. The vertical alignment, that's fine. We'll leave that around 30. Horizontal padding, I actually want more. Let's put maybe 100 just so that that sticks out really big. We also have the border radius. I'm just going to set this to the maximum that I can because I want to round it off border. And a border width, let's go with something around 10. And the color, I actually want to use that yellow that we've been using here, the FDD 835. Great. Under the hover state, let's go back here. We'll change the background color to black and just make sure that text color is white. I think that looks pretty good. On the white text, we could add a little bit of a text shadow. I'll just put maybe small, and that just gives it a little bit of a pop off the page. And there we go. I think we're done with our header. This is for our front page, so we can go ahead and save this and close. And now if we refresh our front page, you're not going to see anything yet. That's because we haven't activated our theme. So right here, we have enable SeedProd theme that we could turn on. So if you have a clean website and it's just a test website, you could actually go ahead and turn that on now. And you'll get a couple of messages here that it's just creating your home and blog pages, and it's setting those for you in the settings. Now that it's active, let's go ahead and we can refresh this time, and you'll see that header that we created. So this is including our header. And if we like, we could have a footer and then our front page template, which we haven't created yet. So far, it's looking pretty nice though. So let's come back. Let's build up the rest of our front page. So I'm going to create a new theme template. We can call this homepage. For type, we can just select single page. And we can include this only on the front page. Let's set this as a high priority, higher than the other ones, just to make sure. And we'll set save. So this page will actually include that header that we just created. But you just can't see it right now. So if we refresh, we can see this page. It says no template found, but this is the exact same page as this. So if we go ahead and drag a headline here and here just as a test and save, we can refresh and you won't see an update until you publish it. So right now we're in draft mode, but if I come over here and click publish, you can see the live page. It says it's been published. I already have it open. Let's just go ahead and refresh, and you can see that my awesome headline begins underneath our header here. Because this is a template piece, we have the template part here, the nav, and then that nav is inside of our header, which we only included on our front page. And now we're continuing underneath this piece. Great, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll delete this test section. So I'll go ahead and create a layout with one column. I'm going to set the background color to that red. I want this to have a border above and below it of the yellow. So let's go into advanced border. We'll set the border width here to 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom. The border color we'll set to yellow. Great, let's come under spacing and uncheck the padding. And for the top, we want 50 on the top and 50 on the bottom. If this link was checked, this would change all of the numbers all at the same time. We just want the top and the bottom. All right, let's get a headline in here. So I'll grab my headline block and I'll rename this to Choose Your Adventure. Let's change the font size here to 60 and I'll change the text color to white. We can also add maybe a small drop shadow or text shadow on that text. Let's go ahead and create a new row by clicking the blue add row. This time I want 2 different columns here. Let's look for our image block and I'll drag that right here. So these are actually going to link to our 2 categories. So we have Mesoamerican or Egyptian pyramids, and then our Mesoamerican on the right side. Let's go ahead and choose our image, and I'll choose the Egyptian one, and we'll select that. So for this image, I'm actually just going to use a template here. Let's use one that looks kind of like a postcard maybe. So we have this one, or even this one, which is a little bit rounded. I think I'll go with this bottom one, and we can come under advanced. And for the drop shadow, let's go with maybe medium or even a large or extra large. I think I'll go with extra large. It just gives that shadow effect. Great, let's go ahead and duplicate this and I'll drag this one to the right side. And we'll just update the picture. I'll click here and change that to the Mesoamerican one. Great, let's go ahead and select a button and we'll drag that underneath here. If we click and come under advanced, the button style, I actually just want to change this to link so you can only see the text. And this gives us a little bit more flexibility in our styling. Let's come back under content and I'll update the button. This will be Egyptian pyramids. So this link will actually go to the Egyptian pyramids category that we applied to the post. So if we come back here, we can look under post categories and we can see the Egyptian and Mesoamerican. Let's go ahead and view the Egyptian. Now there's no template found here, but we can take this URL, just the part of it after the URL with the forward slashes. And we can paste that right in here. And that'll link to our category page for the Egyptian posts. For the size, there's a lot of spacing around this. Let's just go with small right now, but we can change that font size to be a little bit bigger. Let's come back under advanced. And here we can make some changes. Actually, instead of the link, we could also use custom. I can just show you how to do that. We have the solid, the background color I'll leave alone, but the text color I want to change to that yellow that we've been using. The vertical padding for 8, horizontal padding 12 is fine, border radius is fine here as well. I skipped over it by accident, but the typography up here, let's click edit, and we'll put the font size to 40. And let's go ahead and bold this. And I think that looks pretty good. Let's just maybe add a text shadow. Let's do maybe a small text shadow or medium. And I think that looks good. Other than that, we need to change to the hover state. Let's click on hover. For the background color here, we could select white and just take that off. For the background color, we have this black hover. It doesn't look like it's letting me take that off, so we'll have to change that hover state in our global CSS. It's not a big deal. For the button text color, let's change this to white. So we have this white text changing. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll save this and close and come back to our global CSS and edit this. Under our buttons, we can just get rid of this black hover state for now. We'll come back and save this. Then we can double check our homepage design. And now we can see that effect is working how we want. There's also a little spacing here, it looks like. So I'm going to under advanced for the block here, come down under spacing, and we'll just set all the padding to 0. And there we go. That looks good. Let's go ahead and just duplicate this and we'll drag this over. And I'll change this to Mesoamerican pyramids. Let's come back here to the categories. And I'll click the view to get this URL. Click on the text here, and we'll just update that link. So there we go. I think that looks good. Let's come back. We'll save this, and let's come to our front page. We can close this page. So there we go. We can see our large header here. We got our menu. We have our hero text area. I think I want some more spacing down below this. It looks too crammed here. And then we have that section that we just created. So the Egyptian pyramids and our Mesoamerican pyramids. We can actually add those links to the images as well. So let's make a few quick changes here. Let's add the links here. So I'll just grab those and add it to the pictures, to the link. Mesoamerican, we'll do the same thing. Add that to the picture. And we'll save this. And let's just close this and come back to our header front. And I just want to use a spacer block, same that we did above it up here, but this one I just want to have at around 100. There we go. Let's go ahead and save that. We can also see more of the picture when we do this. Now if we refresh, you can see that this was increased here, and I think that looks great. So there we go, that's set up, and we have our pictures link now as well. Great, so let's go ahead and create our footer now, and the footer will just be one footer that we can apply onto every single page. Let's go ahead and add new theme template, and I'll call this one footer, and the type we'll select as footer. And we'll include this on the entire website. We'll just go ahead and save that and start. Okay, great. Let's create a new section here just with one column. I'm going to set the background actually to black. And actually I was wrong. I think I do want 2 columns. So let's click add row And I think I want it bigger on the left side. So something like this. We can delete this first one. And there we go. I want some spacing on this section. So let's click the purple section. Under advanced, let's go to spacing. And padding on the top, let's do 100. And on the bottom, we'll do 100. On the left-hand side, I actually want an opt-in form. I think that's very popular for travel blogs to have a newsletter to keep people updated on the journeys and new updates. If we come under advanced, we have opt-in form. We can drag this right in here. I'm going to actually hide the name, and they just have to enter their email address here. Let's go ahead and I'll select large for the size. And if we click on submit button, we can update the text here. So I'm going to change this to stay up to date on my adventures. And everything else there looks good. We have the background color that we already set on the global setting, so we don't have to change that here. We also have a success message that you can change. So maybe thank you, your adventure begins, something like that. Let's come under advanced here. And I think I'll leave, well, actually we'll put the border radius up to around 6. We can make that more to match our buttons above. So actually let's do that. Let's do 100. For the fields, we can leave that alone. Let's check out the button. The button, I actually want to add an icon. So let's go ahead and check the after text icon. We'll choose icon and maybe search for a plane, something that represents a journey. So there we go. And there we go. I think that looks good. Now, if you like, you can actually connect this to your favorite third-party email marketing service if you use one of these services. So all those emails will be signed up into one of these services, whatever you're using. You can just simply click on one to connect it, connect a new account, and enter your API key. If you're not sure how to get that, they usually have documentations on how to do so, or contact their support to get that API key. On the right-hand side, let's just use some social media buttons here. So I'll use a headline block here on the right side. Let's just go ahead and drop that here, and I'll click and say stay connected. Great. Under advanced, let's change that color to white so that we can see it. And I think that looks good. Next, let's use the social profiles block, social profiles. Right here under advanced, I'll drag that underneath the text. We'll have to make some changes here so it looks a little bit more fitting. So here you can change which social media accounts you want to show. And if you click on the settings, you can include your URL to those social media accounts. So for your Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. For the style, let's change this to stacked, and we want large buttons, and we'll leave them centered. Now we have different templates here that we can select from. I think I do want something rounded like this. I think that actually looks quite nice. So let's use this one here, and let's just add maybe a little bit of a drop effect. If we come under shadow here, let's go to custom, and we can add maybe that red. We could even do the yellow as well. Let's just test what the yellow would look like. We can put 2 and 2. And no, I don't like that. I think the red that we have set kind of pops off a little bit better. I don't want any blur though. I like the sharp drop shadows just like that to give it a little bit of a feature to stand out. And there we go. I think that looks great for our footer. We can keep it quite basic here. There we go. Let's come back. Let's just check our front page. And now we can see that we have the header, our home page section, and then we have our footer. Now the footer again is included on every single page. So now we need to create a few different pages here. So the first one that I want is the blog post page. So this will list all of our blog articles on one page. We also need one for our Egyptian pyramids and Mesoamerican. These are for our archives, which are the category pages, right? So we click here, this will list all of the Egyptian posts, and this would be the Mesoamerican posts. These actually share the same exact templates. We're going to reuse that. For the blog, since we have a different text on the header, we're just going to create a different template for that one. So let's go ahead. We'll create a new theme template here. And I'm just going to call this one header blog, and this will be a header, and we'll include this not on the entire site, but only on the blog page. Let's go ahead and save that. And here we have a new section. We can add one column here. And for our background, we want to use that same background image that we used before. It's just that illustration. And we can set that to the full screen cover. Let's just go ahead and add our template parts. So here we have that header that we included earlier. And underneath that, we want the text that we have on the front page. So I just want to show you something else that you can do to speed up your work process. Let's come back to our header front, and we can edit the design. And let's say we want to reuse this element. We can actually click the save block here. So I'll call this maybe custom header, and we can save this as a template. So now anywhere on the theme builder, if I come back to our header for the blog, I can actually come down to the bottom on the left-hand side under saved blocks, and now I can just drag this custom header in here. So let's update the text on this. We'll change this to maybe pyramid articles. And this will include all articles, a mix of all of the Mesoamerican and the Egyptian ones. They're not broken down into categories. Let's add some spacing here. So I'll add maybe 100 at the top. This one will be a little different than the front page. It's just a big header displaying this title. And let's put another one underneath here. So let's just duplicate this and drag it underneath. Now you can't see much of the background, so we could actually reposition this, maybe something like 100% with bottom, and that'll bring the bottom of the picture where there's more to see underneath there. Our text is a little hard to see now, so we could change this to maybe white. Great, I'm actually quite happy with that. So let's go ahead and save this and close it, and that's all we need to do for our header for our blog. Great, now we actually want to create the exact same thing. Let's duplicate this header blog, but this time we want it for the archives, which will be our category pages. Let's go to under Edit Conditions, and we'll change this from header to header archives. And instead of including this just on that single blog page, we want to include this on all of our archives. And this will probably all make a little bit more sense once we're completed and you see the final product of how these are being included. Let's just go ahead and save this. And right now it's in draft mode. Let's just make sure that's published. And let's edit the design. Now, instead of the text, what we actually want to show here is the category that'll be displayed. So instead of displaying pyramid articles here, we want this to be dynamic, and it should change based on what category that we are on. So if I change this and put in this tag, this is a dynamic tag that we can use. So you can see SeedProd tag equals the archive title. So this will be replaced by whatever category we're actually on. Let's go ahead and save this, and we can close this out. There we go. We have our header for our front page, which is the big one with the big button and text. And then we have the blog page that just simply says pyramid articles or pyramid posts. And then we have the header for the archives, which is dynamic based on which category it actually is. Now, the one thing that's missing is we don't have a template to go in between here yet. So we got to go ahead and create that. Okay, great. Now that we have our header archives, let's come under posts and categories. And we have Egyptian and Mesoamerican. Now these should be dynamic now, and they share the same template. So here we can see category Egyptian and category Mesoamerican. And this is using the same template, right? So this actually looks a little bit too big. So we could come back to the SeedProd theme builder, the archives template, and we can just bring this font size down. Maybe let's do 70. And I think that's fine. Let's save this and close it. Okay, great. Now let's actually create the section here in between. So we have our header and our footer. So this template here will be used on the blog page. So right here, as well as inside these pieces here, we're going to reuse the exact same template. Let's come under add new theme template and just call it blog or blog posts. Let's go ahead and we can create some custom conditions here. And I want this to be applied to all archives as well. Let's include this onto the blog page. So this will be on every category page and our blog pages. Go ahead and save this. Great, so the footer is actually the only template that's applied to every single page. That's why we can see it here and not the header, because we have multiple headers that will be shown depending on what type of page is shown, either a category page or a blog post. Let's go ahead and just create one column here full of posts. So we'll come under the blocks and select our template post block, and we'll drop that in here. Let's click the settings here. So by default, it might have the query type selected as custom. We actually don't want this, because this won't be able to distinguish between Egyptian posts and Mesoamerican. So let's just use the default here. And let's change this to maybe 3 columns wide. The pagination will add, so make sure this is turned on. You can see them at the bottom here. We can show the featured image. So there we go. And right now it's just showing an example of the Mesoamerican posts. And if we come down, we have show title. So you can turn that on or off. I'm going to go ahead and change this to maybe an H2 or an H3. That looks good to me. And you can turn on the show meta if you like, and this includes the date modified, author, date, time, comment count. I'm going to turn that off for this section. We have the show excerpt, so that's the text here that you can see. I'm going to leave that on and leave the excerpt length alone as well. And continue reading, so you can change the text here underneath. Great, I think that looks fine. Let's go under advanced and post, and here we can play with the style of the post. So for the post background, I actually want to change the section first before we continue. Let's add that red background color that we've had before, as well as the yellow border on the top and bottom. So we had 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom, and then the border color was the yellow that we've been using. Great, let's come back to our posts here, and we'll edit under the advanced tab to get the styles for these. We can come under post and post background. Let's change this to white. Now we can add the post padding all around it. Let's try maybe 20. I think that looks fine. And we have a post shadow here as well, so we could maybe do that large where we did it on the images as well earlier. If you like, you can change the space bottom here, but I'm going to leave that alone. Next, we can come under for text. So here you have the typography for the title, the meta text, the excerpt, the read more text, and the pagination. The only thing I really want to change, I think, is maybe the read more topography here. Just maybe we could make that a little bit bigger or bold it so it sticks out a little bit better. But other than that, I think everything looks fine. Let's go to the image. And here you can add a shadow on that. So maybe you could put a medium. So it looks like a shadow on top of a box with a shadow. It might be effect that you're looking for. I'll even put a large here. We have the border radius if you want to add a corner to this. And I think I'm just going to leave everything alone there. We have the border itself, so you could round off the edges here. I might do a little bit. Let's do somewhere around 6 to 10 in that area. I think 6 is nice. And there we go. I think that's fine. Let's come down. We can see the pagination here. So we can come down to the bottom under pagination, topography, and color. Let's change these links maybe to white so they stand out more. And we'll click edit topography. Now the font size, we actually went a lot bigger. Let's bring this up so we can see them. I think somewhere maybe around 30 would be fine. Let's go ahead and center those. And the line height we want to change. Let's put that around 4. There you go. I think that looks fine. Just keep it nice and simple like that. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and save this. And we'll come back to our website. And now we want to select blog here so we can see this in action. So here we can see our header for our blog. It says pyramid articles. We come down, we can see it should be a mix of all of our posts. This is the Mesoamerican ones. Plus, eventually, it should include the Egyptian ones, which you can see here as well. Now, if we come back to our homepage and click on one of the categories, we have Egyptian and Mesoamerican. This should show the Egyptian category ones. And here you can see only the Egyptian and the Mesoamerican ones here as well. So those are divided into 2 different sections. Because we use the default posts here, we didn't have the option to select how many posts to show per page. So we can actually change that in the settings of WordPress. So here under settings and reading, we have blog posts shown at most. I'm actually going to change this just to 6 because we have 12 per category. And if we save that and refresh, you can see that this updates. We have 6 now instead of the 10, I believe it was before. We also have the pagination, so you can see that this works fine. We're on page 2 of the Mesoamerican category. Great, so everything's coming along. We have our homepage complete. We have the begin the journey. This clicks through to our pyramid articles. And now the only thing that we really need to add are the blog posts themselves. So when we click through and click, we don't actually have a template for our blog post. Let's go ahead and create that. We actually need one more header that I forgot about, which would be for the posts, which we can actually create a dynamic one as well. Let's go ahead and duplicate maybe the header archives one, and we have it in draft. Let's publish that and edit the conditions. And we'll say header posts. And this one will actually appear on all of our posts. So here we can see that and save it. Let's go ahead and edit this one. So instead of using this tag, what we actually want to use is the post title. So we can actually drag this in and just use this as well, and then update the styles for it. So as I was just doing this, I just realized I forgot about this, but we actually typed in this archive title, and I should have mentioned that you can actually drag in the archive title block as well, which you can see right here. And this is the exact same thing instead of typing this in, but it's good to know both ways of doing it if you wish. Okay, great. Once you have your title updated here, let's go ahead and save this and we can close. This will be applied to all of our posts. So now if we come through and click on a post, we should see that header. And that name is dynamic. So if we click on, for example, My Incredible Egyptian Adventure number 2, we should be able to see the number 2 version of that post. Now you can change the font size for this section to either be smaller or bigger if you like to have ginormous titles. So now we just need to create the actual article section. So let's go ahead and get into that. Let's create a new theme template, and we can call this maybe article or post. And this will be a template for a single post. So this will be for all posts, but it's for one specific article. Let's go ahead and include an all posts and save. And again, this is the same thing with the footer. Let's just create a new section here, and I'll do 1 row for now. Let's change the background color to that red that we've been using, and then come under advanced spacing. Let's do the 50 on the top, 50 on the bottom, and we'll add that yellow border, which was 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom with that yellow color. Great. So the first thing I want to do is it would be really tough to read on a red background. So let's take this row and change this to white. Now, hopefully this isn't too contrasting for people to read. It might be a little bit hard on the eyes. So you could adjust these colors based on your website. Next, let's go ahead and I'm going to drag in the post featured image. So let's go ahead and select the featured image here. And there we go. I think that looks quite nice. If you like, you can select this and change the image size to a percentage. And you could actually put this to 100. And this will be the full width. Now I kept these at 800 pixels. So if you want them to be larger, maybe you could do 1000 or 1200 to fill out your column here. Underneath this, we can put our post content. So I'll drag this underneath. And here we can read about the actual pyramid that we visited, and we can select this and make some changes here. So we have the font size. Maybe we could put this up to a little bit bigger, maybe not quite so big, 22. I think that looks nice. Let's head under advanced and see what options we have here. Under edit, we could change the letter spacing or line height. So if we bring this down, you can click up until there's a line height that you like to read at or that you find comfortable. I'll put mine at around 1.7 and close this. Let's come back and see what else that we can add here. At the bottom, you could add an author box if you like. So mine, I didn't fill out the information, but you could just change the profile information for that WordPress account to show all of the details for this author. Then people could also click on that and you could create a template to show all the posts for that author as well if you like. Let's go ahead maybe and add some post navigation underneath here. So this will go to the next or previous post depending on which one it's at. Let's come under typography and we can change the font size here, maybe somewhere around 20 or 25 to stand out a little bit more. We could bold this so it sticks out a bit more, and come under advanced, we could change the spacing here. So maybe some padding on the top, we could add maybe 20 and 20 on the bottom for whatever we put underneath here. Let's come back. We can actually add the posts as well. And we could just change this to, we could actually use a custom or a default, whatever you want to use. So if we use a custom query, let's include only the posts. I'll leave everything else here the same. Ascending or descending order is up to you. Let's do the 3 columns, and then you can style these kind of however you want. So we just want to show 3 posts here. We could actually increase this to maybe 4 just so it includes an extra one there. Show the featured image, and I'll come down. I'll hide the excerpt, and I'll hide the read more. It'll just be simple thumbnails that people can click on if it looks interesting to them. I'll come under advanced and title typography. We can click here. We can center those titles. For the image, we could go ahead and add that medium or large size drop shadow. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. You want to keep this kind of an easy looking page. If you like, you could add maybe some dividers here. We could include one here and just take that color, maybe make it a faint color so it looks a little better. Duplicate that and put another one under here to break up this section a bit. I'll actually change that color as well. We can make it a little bit lighter, something around there, so it's not standing out too much. Let's go ahead and select this whole row, the blue part here, and we could add maybe a border radius here of, let's say somewhere around 6. We could just round that off a little bit, or up to 10, whatever looks the best. And if you like, you could actually add a drop shadow to this whole box. We could actually maybe put a medium or large drop shadow on that. I'll actually go extra large. Now you can include any of these blocks, so you could get creative and put your social network buttons on here. You already have those in the footer, but anything that you want to add in here. There's animated headlines and testimonials and carousels and anything that you want to use, you can use. Let's go ahead and save this post and we'll close this. We'll come back to our web page here, and now we're on a blog post right now. So if we refresh, we should see our header. We see the dynamic name. We have the image of this post. We have the content of this post. We have our navigation to go to the previous or next, and we have all of the different posts here that we could click on to find. We could actually randomize those if you want in the post query. So there we go. Let's just take a quick look here. We have our home page. We have our header with our custom navigation. We have our hero text. We have a section here, a button that goes to our blog. Come down, we have this broken down into 2 adventures, our Egyptian, Mesoamerican, and our footer to sign up to our email newsletter, and our social profiles. We click Egyptian, and this shows the category for Egyptian and breaks it down into Egyptian posts. Then we can sort through these and just see the Egyptian ones, and of course the same thing for the Mesoamerican ones. If we click on one, we can see the actual post itself. So we have the title, and again, you can change the full layout of this page to however you wish with our image, the content, the navigation, and then some related posts here. Now that you know how to create an exciting travel blog website in WordPress, maybe you would like to check out these videos on how to create a Disney Plus website clone or build a Netflix landing page clone with WordPress. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.